All right, thank you for joining us, and let's jump right into it. How to build relationships to increase your customer base and your presence in the community. And just know, first and foremost, when it comes to building your customer base and building your community presence, both of those topics are arts in themselves and have a essential strategic way of how to actually build those things. How do you actually build your customer base? How do you actually build your presence in the community? But as you want to learn that art, the first art you have to learn is how to build relationships with people. Because once you build that relationship, then you can leverage that relationship to build your customer base, or you can leverage that relationship to build your presence in the community. But if you don't have people you're working with, at the end of the day, you're pretty much at a standstill. So we're going to talk about first how to get in front of people, build that long-term trusting relationship so you can leverage those relationships however you like. Now, this information is great for entrepreneurs and local business owners. When I say entrepreneurs, you're just starting a business, you're thinking about starting a business, or those that are already mature business owners and with the mature business, or maybe going as far as you're in the phase of, exiting your business and selling your business, or whatever that looks like, the last stage of a business. There's still an art with dealing with people in order to get things done. So if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner in any ways, is great information for you. Anyone that's a sales representative in any way when it comes to either managing prospects or managing current clients or connecting with those that may have done business with you and are no longer working with you at the moment, any professional in that regard, any employer, especially when it comes to, indirectly maintaining your staff and keeping them. You can use these same principles and strategies in that regard. Also, real estate developers, very important. You're looking to build your presence in the community. You have developments going on. You might be in a particular community. You're not from that area. You might be coming from out of state, and you need to get your development bought in from the community so it can pass your board of aldermen or your council, metropolitan council. Very important for you of how to build relationships with people. Also, just even if you're an international professional, and you're looking to get into a new territory, get into a new geographical territory. There's an art to doing that. You're the new person on the block. There's individuals that are already commanding the market, maybe, and you want to make sure that you're creating win-win deals all the way around. And just basically anyone that's dealing with business, government, and community relations. Because it's very broad, but in business, in government, and in communities, you're dealing with people. So this is why it's very important for you to know this quick art. And so before we get started, I just want to share my story of how I got to this point. Really started this business and my brand with my girlfriend, who's now my wife of 11 years as of now. And we started this business because we moved from one state. We were just dating at the time. We moved from one state homeless to another state. We were unhoused, and we were again dating, and someone from my wife's side of the family while we were dating said, hey, come to this state and get started. Because my wife and I wanted to stay together, we decided to move out to this state together and start our life. And it was very important. I started off as a janitor, buffing toilets and cleaning floors. But I always knew four things, or I wanted to learn four things. One was, what do I like to do? What am I good at? What do people need? And what are people willing to pay me for? And one thing that, the first thing, what I like to do, one thing I like to do is connect with people and build relationships. I've always been around sports all my life. And one thing I learned about, we'll say basketball, was you're going to meet people that join your team from all kind of backgrounds, and I played city basketball from our parks and recreation all the way to the point of playing travel basketball all the way to high school, and so you get to a point where you're playing city basketball, you have enough skills. They say, hey, join this travel basketball team. And now you're meeting people from a larger region of your area that are skilled. And more importantly, you're going into different territories, competing against other teams, and you're building relationships with them. And a lot of times the people that you're competing with, you're going to see them at basketball camps, or eventually if there's a larger travel team, you might join their team if it's a larger team to get on a national scale. So I've always respected the fact that in basketball, you're meeting new people on your team. You got to find a common goal, all the way to the point of you're connecting with the referees. How do you build a relationship with the referees so that you can get things done in your favor? And so knowing those things, I started off providing fundraising for nonprofit organizations and marginalized low-income communities, because these nonprofit organizations were doing a great job providing social services, but they needed funding, they needed corporate sponsorships, corporate partnerships. And so I took that with my skill. What do I like to do and what am I good at? I took those two questions, found an answer, and decided to go out and start raising funds and finding resources for these nonprofits. So much so that I was requested and enticed to run for city council, because I was so successful with working with nonprofits, and they saw the work I was doing in the community. And going into working with, running in a campaign, and I didn't win, allowed me to be introduced to government relations and in the civics arena. And that was a whole nother art when it came to building businesses with relationships, with the community, and building relationships with your elected officials and your government agencies. So I went from working with nonprofits, going into government relations. And traditionally, when you're dealing with government relations, a lot of business does not happen unless, the government policies are in line. So a lot of these elected officials and government agency leaders introduced me to local businesses that needed help connecting to particular communities. And so I worked predominantly in African-American communities, especially when it came to nonprofit work. And that connected me to elected officials that oversaw, if you will, African-American minority communities, in which those civic leaders connected me to businesses in those areas that wanted to drive traffic and or increase their presence in the African-American community. And that's how I got started, along with my girlfriend, who's now my wife of 11 years. And so at this point, we're pretty much the go-to firm when it comes to connecting to the African-American community at the minimum, connecting with the minority community as well. And that's dealing with business, government, and community relations. And so when you have that leverage, you have that, and this is when it comes to civic engagement, I'm talking about working with all political parties, which is a whole nother conversation. So that's a little bit of background as far as my insight. And my work has taken me from working in a particular city, in the state that I moved in, to counties, to state regions, to states, and now into national regions. And so I want to be able to make sure that you have this philosophy so that you can increase your customer base or your presence in the community. So let's jump right into it. How do you build relationships to increase your customer base and your presence in the community? So first thing you have to do is meet people. If you are staying within your box and trying to plan and strategize and take action steps within your box, you're not going to reach the goals that you set for yourself. So you have to become, for a time, what one would call an extrovert. You have to be the one to put your idea, whatever that is, out there, because no one else is going to do it for you unless you pay them to do that. And even then, you have to orientate them on the message, product, or service that you're providing. And so that's a lot of work, and it takes more skills to do that and more experience. But if you want to start with yourself, you have to first have a mindset of being an extrovert, going out there for a particular time to make results happen. And that's a mindset and a personal development, personal growth strategy that you have to focus on. So with that mindset and being prepared to meet new people, you now have to go where the people that are your customers, that are your base, that are your prospects are. You got to go where they are. And that could be, again, if you're looking to build your community base, that's dealing with more community buy-in. So you got to go to those community sectors, the faith-based organizations. You got to go to nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and things of that nature. If you're looking to build your customer base, you got to first know who is your target market, who is your prospective customer, and find out where they are and get there. A lot of times, networking events are always good. Online, virtual, social events are good as well, but you have to know who that customer is so that you're maximizing that time, if that makes sense. Second of all, you also want to take time out to do research on where once you know who your customer base is or who your prospects are, you want to do research online to find out where those individuals are when it comes to hosting, if they're hosting networking events. Very important. If you know who your client is, if you know who your prospect is, you want to find out where they are. You have to put yourself in that position. And so once you find out where they are, naturally, you got to get down there and you got to meet with them. And so from there, when you meet the professionals, you actually want to make sure when you connect with them to get their information. You know, I want to build, and the way you can say that is, hey, here's my information, or if you don't mind, may I have your contact information so I can reach out to you so we can build a working relationship. Keywords. And if you can, you want to get their information. That way the ball's in your court to reach out to them. If you give them your information, which is great, you now have to hope they call you. And there could be a situation where they lose your contact information or they totally forgot. So you want to, when you meet these individuals, you want to grab their contact information. And again, when you get that contact information, less is more. A lot of times when you go to these networking events, you want to make sure that you're talking with someone maybe 3 to 5 minutes. You don't want to linger around and have these long drawn out conversations, which are great because one, it's either the individual that you're talking to is saying, hey, I'm really an introvert and I want to just, I want to say I'm talking to people. So I found this one person. I'm going to talk to them for 30 minutes to say I was here and I was networking. You're not doing that individual justice. And more importantly, you're not doing yourself justice because you need to be working the room and you're at an event that you know your prospects are. So you need to get as much contact information from other people as possible. So you want to get the information and then you want to say, hey, what's the best way to begin building a working relationship with you? From there, they're going to let you know, hey, call me, text me, email me, message me on social media, here's a link to appointment. And you want to just, whatever they say, you want to follow it. If they say, well, I'm not sure, just shoot me an email. You want to make sure that, and we're going into the next step here, you want to make sure that you are following up. And once you get their information, if you don't follow up, you're shortchanging yourself. And you want to follow up if you can within really 1 to 3 business days. And the way you do that is by one, you want to have a customer relationship management system or software or cloud where you're able to take these contact informations and put them in your customer relationship management system so that you're able to track who you have connected with. And now you're building your contact, you're building your database, which is valuable in itself. And as you get more skilled in your database, you'll be able to categorize those contacts, and then your database becomes even more valuable. But if you can, you want to automate, if you can, your customer relationship management system. So that way, when you connect with these individuals, you're able to follow up. If they give you a way to follow up, you want to follow those steps. If they do not give you a way to follow up, you also want to have a system in place where you can send out an automated message, or you can send out a manual message on your time saying, hey, we connected. I sure would like to connect with you. Here's a link or a button for you to press so we can schedule a time to meet. Now, you only want to do that if they did not give you clear instructions on how they wanted you to contact them. Because the next step we're going to learn in this is being a consultant and actually following the steps that people ask you to make your job and their job as easy as possible. But going back to the follow-up process, you want to make sure that you are reaching out to those individuals with the call of action to make sure that you're able to schedule an appointment with them. Now, when you get to the point of following up and you have an appointment scheduled, always remember, even when it came down to finding out, hey, what's the best way to build a working relationship? In all that we do, we want to realize that less is more. Less is more. And it's about them. So you don't really want to talk about yourself and what you're doing. You almost want to find out their story and find out, what they're working on and almost what their challenges are. And you almost know at this point, their challenges are going to be related to the services and the solutions or products that you provide because you intentionally researched who is my prospective audience. So you went to that networking event or to that activity for a reason. So almost 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, their challenge is a solution that you have for them. And so you really want to, and knowing that you almost have the solution for them, the first thing when it comes to the follow-up that you want to keep in mind is, or the second thing you want to keep in mind is, you want to meet people where they are. The beautiful thing about working with people is we're so diverse. Over 6 billion, 7 billion people in the world. That's 6 billion, over 7 billion ideas that we have to meet people halfway on. And the moment you realize that everyone, to some degree, has a right to believe and to think what they want, the easier it is it's going to be for you to relate to people. Because if you want people to operate and maneuver how you are, you're going to have a limiting life. But if you're able to meet people where they are and accept them for who they are and embrace where they are, where they're going, and hopefully your innovations can help them, pivot in any way, you're going to get a lot more results because you're going to accept and work with more people. So first thing you got to do is meet people where they are. And when you're meeting them where they are, you're going to experience and hear and be a part of so many different diverse things that you may not be comfortable with. But if you're not comfortable with it, you got to realize that those people that you're following up with, they may not be your potential customer or prospect, even though you met with them, but they may know someone. And they're not going to open up and introduce you to anyone if you don't accept who they are and meet them where they are. So you always got to play it cool. Always have to accept people for who they are. And the beautiful thing is, once you connect with them and you feel like you guys are not a good fit for any reason, that's where you don't have to reach back out to them. You don't have to build that working relationship. But if nothing else, you have a contact. And if you want to reach out to them in the future for any reason, you didn't burn that bridge. So you got to meet people where they are. And that's how my work spilled into government relations, because I work with various parties, independent individuals as well. And you talk about diversity in opinions, diversity in values, diversity in perspectives. And it's only those that have and use emotional intelligence that are going to be the ones to navigate the various levels, the various waters, the various perspectives, because you've already accepted people for where they are. Not necessarily for who they are, but where they are. And if you accept them for where they are, indirectly, you're going to find yourself accepting them for who they are. And that's why emotional intelligence plays a huge role there. So now that you have you met with the individual, or you met them at the event or activity online or in person, you followed up with them, you followed their steps to meet with them, and now you have a time to meet with them over the phone, on Zoom, or in person, or you connected with them or you sent them a message to where you put yourself in a position where there's a button or link to meet with them either on the phone, through Zoom, or in person. When you followed up with them, now you're at the point where you're meeting with them. You're talking with them either in person, on Zoom, or over the phone. And once you do that, after you follow up and you're meeting with them, you want to begin what I call building the working relationship process. Now we're building a working relationship. And when you ask the question, how can we begin the process of building a working relationship? And what I call a working relationship is getting something done for someone else using your skill sets and your knowledge. And the first thing that you're doing when you notice that is you're actually providing the service first. And your service could actually be a product. So you're actually providing the product first, if you will. But the bottom line is how you build a working relationship from scratch, from nothing, is to have a service mindset. So how do we build a working relationship? Meaning, what challenge are you having that I can help you with my skill sets, with my knowledge, with my products or my service? And guess what? When you do that, you're going to realize that that person is going to see value in you. Value is only something that someone else deems important in their eyes towards you, your product or service, not what you deem important about your product or service to yourself, if that makes any sense. So you want to make sure that you're bringing value or being helpful to someone else. And that starts with having a service mindset. So you want to go into any meeting saying, hey, how do we build a working relationship? What challenges are you having? Tell me about your story. Tell me about your challenges. And from there, you're taking mental and or writing physical notes. Another way to be of service, another way of building a working relationship by having a service mindset is also saying, hey, once you find out and hear what they're talking about as far as their service or product or challenge, one of the ways you could do that is saying, you know what, I may not be a good fit for you, but I have a individual, a brand, or a network that can assist you, and I want to refer them over to you. I want them to reach out to you if you don't mind. And it could be even more advantageous if you can have your referral partner provide their service or product for free, to that prospect you're connecting with. But if not, the first thing that you're doing by being of service is directing them to information that's going to help them get to the next step. And so providing referrals, either someone that wants to buy from them or that can provide a service for them or a resource for them, that's one quick way to start to be on the good foot with your prospect. You also want to see if you can volunteer or also find folks to volunteer for them. Now, this particular situation may be a better fit for those that are on the community relations side, or if you're working with nonprofits, you're a private business and you want to have more community buy-in. What can we do as a brand or as employees to provide assistance? And volunteering, either yourself or having your group or finding individuals to volunteer for you, is going to help individuals, are going to help your prospects believe in you more. Or even may not find volunteers, but finding skilled professionals that can help them get the job done, either by skilled professionals that they can hire or skilled professionals or brands that they can outsource their contracting work to. Another thing that you can do when it comes to having a service mindset and through building a working relationship is to offer your services or products for free. So you can say, hey, you know what? We connected. I hear what you're saying. And tell you what, let me go ahead and provide this smaller portion of my service or product to you. And just on the house, I wanted to help you. And if you need more, reach back out to me and maybe I can give you a discount, or the fee is what the fee is. But for now, I want to be able to provide this for you. So now you've gone from assisting with referrals, providing funding, providing potential customers, providing potential donors, to providing your time or time of others through volunteering, as well as providing your product or service for little to no cost. These are all great ways to get your foot in the door to build a working relationship by having a service mindset. And once you build that working relationship, you guys are going through that motion. The next step is it's very important to be accountable to that new friend of yours. Now they've gone from a prospect to a friend. And so a friend is someone that you want to look out for. A friend is someone you want to have an open, transparent communication system with. And a friend is someone that you just want to see win at the end of the day. And so when you have the mindset of this person is no longer a prospect, which is a number, but now a friend, which is a relationship, and you actually maneuver and act in that prospect is going to feel that. They're going to feel that friendship. And it's important once you guys become friends to be accountable. And what I mean by that is to say do what you're going to say. And if you can't do it, what you said, you want to be able to let that new friend know, hey, I'm not going to be able to do it as soon and as quick as possible, because one, things happen. But instead of you avoiding the individual or coming up with an excuse, being accountable, transparent, and saying, I can't do it now, I made a mistake, and this is where I'm at, is going to help you in the long run, because that's good customer service, and that's where it's important for less to be more. Because if you're not promising someone the world, then you are literally under promising and then over delivering, which is the results and the system and process that you want. But if you're saying all the things that you can do and you're not able to follow up with them, and even if you call them and say, hey, I can't do it, and that, which is greatly appreciated, but at the end of the day, you've already made these statements and they may have gotten into a mindset of you providing these things. They may have opened their mouth and say, hey, I ran into this individual, this is what they're going to do for us or do for me, and you don't follow through with it. And then those individuals that your new friend have talked to is going to look at that friend of yours and say, hey, well, I don't believe what you're saying as their friend. I don't believe what you're saying. And you said that this person you met is going to do X, Y, and Z. They didn't show up. So now your new friend is not looking so good in front of their network. And that's why it's so important that less is more, so that you can become more accountable and position yourself to be successful when it comes to being accountable. And also, as you're being accountable, one of the great ways to measure that you are doing a great job of being accountable is monitoring and realizing how many new friends that your friend, so friend A, who you met with at the event or activity, so how many friends from friend A, now how many people that friend A introduces you to, that's their friends, that's friend A's friends, if that makes sense. So now you have friend A, who you've built a working relationship, you're being accountable, providing these various service-minded strategies, and now friend A is introducing you to their friends. And now you've met friend B, C, D, E, F, and now you're getting strong referrals from your friend A. That's the best way to measure that your relationship is growing with friend A, because now they're introducing you to their network of friends because you're providing them with great service, whatever that looks like, and they want their friends to experience those services as well. And secondly, it's an indirect way for you to introduce your business, product, or service to your friend A's network, to friend A's network. So that's how you can tell if your accountability approach is working. Last thing you want to do, and now you've met the person, you've followed up with them, you built a working relationship, and now you're being accountable to them. Now, what you want to do, and this could be a span of weeks, days, weeks, months, or years, however long you need to do it. And by this time, if you're going into years, by this time, you should be at friend Z 26 times over just from this one friend. But now you know the art, and now you're meeting a whole lot more friends that are introducing you to their network, if that makes sense. But in that, you always want to keep in mind, hey, other than, hey, these are my services or products, you want to have them, you want them to actually request your services or products on their time, really. You always want to make sure that your services or products in their face, and we're going to talk about the strategies of how we do that, but at the end of the day, you really don't want to ask them. The only time you ask is when you really, really need something. Other than that, you should have strategies in place that provide the ask for you through a professional system. So now you've gone from you've gone from a specialist to someone that is running a process or a system in your friend's eyes. Because now when you guys build, you're building through a process that you've already pre-created. And when you connect with your friend, all you got to do is just maintain that friendship. And anything that you're providing as far as a service or product is done through that process that you've already created, which is a whole nother conversation in that. And that process that you're creating is the actual leveraging tools you're going to use to build your customer base and your presence in the community, which we said again was a whole separate art. But we got to first put ourselves in a position to get in front of people in order to put ourselves in a position to build a customer base or a sales pipeline and your presence in the community. Again, this is great if you're looking to be a sales rep, if you're someone that's providing a social service, or even an elected official or someone that wants to be a candidate and wants to run for office. These are all the ways that you do that. And so the last step you want to do is go into your, one of the last steps you want to do is go into your ask. And the thing is, when you ask, you want to ask at strategic times. So that way, when you're talking to your friend, they can say, hey, this person doesn't really ask me for a whole lot. If I want to buy a product or service, they always have a system in place for me to purchase that. But other than our personal working relationship, they never ask me for anything. So when you ask and you've helped them do so much, they're going to help you. 9 times out of 10, they're going to help you, and they're going to do it with no problem because you don't ask for anything. You don't ask a lot. So you want to hold your asks close to your chest and use them strategically. And your ask could be, hey, I know we're cool, I know we're friends, but is there any way you can introduce me to that client or that business, that brand that you're working with? You know, when you do that at the beginning, at the earlier stages, they're not going to look at you. They're going to look at you as another sales rep looking for something in it for them. But when you build that relationship as a friend, they'll be open to helping you. When it comes to the ask of, hey, can you introduce me to your constituent base? I'm doing this in government relations. Can you help me? Or if you're talking to a nonprofit that's a prospect, hey, can you help support, this event and let your people know about this event and bring them down. I need people from the community, or I need people to stop by that's in your community, stop by this local business to help drive traffic. Anything of that nature, you can ask, but you want to ask toward the end, and you want to ask very rarely and keep your ask strategic, if that makes sense. So now you have a system going and you're rocking and rolling. You have, you're out there meeting new people. you're following up with them, you're building working relationships, you're being accountable. Now you have a system. But the last step to your system is you want to make sure your system is scalable, and you want to automate your system now as much as you can, because now your time is becoming more sensitive. Very important. And so with more sensitive time, what you want to do is you want to put people in place or tools in place that can help you run your system. So at the minimum, you want to find an assistant, an in-person assistant, a virtual assistant, some type of automated assistant that's through technology, but an assistant that's going to help you manage your growing relationships with your friends now. And that assistant is going to do everything from answer phone calls if you need them to, schedule appointments when you have phone calls coming in now. You could have friends now that are in your network, and your friends now are referring their friends to you. So now you got friends B, C, and D calling and saying, hey, friend A referred me or told me about you and I wanted to call in. You need to make sure you have someone answering those phones in real time. You can't do that as you're networking and building relationships. So you don't want to burn yourself out. So getting an assistant virtually or in person or some type of technological tool that can help automate and scale your business or your process here is very important. Answering phone calls, scheduling appointments, sending out emails, and those emails will include follow-ups as well as thank you notes and newsletters. These are the ways that you're going to stay in your new friends or former prospects' mind and go for the ask without you not having to actually do it, if that makes sense. And so now that individual is seeing you as an expert, seeing you as a professional. They're going to treat you as such, and they're going to introduce you as such. And that goes a long way, because a lot of times it's about word of mouth and it's about nonverbal communication. And if you have someone pitching on your behalf, speaking highly on your behalf, that's bringing more credibility to you. And about 70% of the sales process is done. Having someone speak on your behalf to introduce you to their network to bring results to you is the epitome of grassroots marketing. And as a grassroots marketing consultant, those are the steps to building a working relationship with people, so you can leverage those relationships to build a customer base or to build a presence in the community. And so if you felt this message was helpful, and if you don't want to do all those things and you want to outsource it, or if you need someone to help you and direct you on getting to the next steps, maybe some advising or some coaching, you want to go ahead and click the button, click the link so we can schedule a 30-minute accelerator call. And that way we can go ahead and see what a working relationship looks like. Call is 30 minutes. And when you click the button, there's going to be an application for you to complete. It's very important for you to complete that application in its entirety, because if you do not complete the application, I will not complete or go on a call with you. I get so many calls, and in order for me to be effective for you, I need to make sure that I need to find out where you are and where you want to be. So that application is so important to fill out. And if you don't fill it out, I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to call you back or respond with an appointment. Also, if you are and you want to make sure that you're finding a time to have a call with me, you want to find a time that you can commit and keep, because I get so many phone calls, I have so many scheduled appointments that if you can't keep your time, I'm going to go on to the next person, and I want you to be in that same, I want you to have that same mindset. Part of being friends is making sure that people are building friendships, is making sure that people don't waste your time and are being respectful of your time. So that's why it's very important as you build your brand that you're hanging around the right type of friends that respect time, that respect production, if you will. And so when you're connecting with those individuals and you're meeting them for the first time, one of the things you want to do when you're meeting them is also having them and asking them to be a mentor of yours. Hey, I would love just to pick your brain if you don't mind. You might be a newer professional in this industry, and you're going to reach out and meeting with professionals that may have been doing this for a lot longer. So not only do you want to connect with them to help provide a product or service, but you also want to pick their brain. And if they are prospects, you want to pick their brain so that you know how to best approach and pitch to them. And so for that reason, that's why it's very important for you to, one, click the link to book a call, also complete the application, but you also want to make sure that you're on time so that we can go through the call, because if not, I just don't have time to complete the the working relationship process with you. Those are the steps on how to build relationships to increase your customer base and your presence in the community. Thank you so much for clicking all links so that we can move forward, and I will talk with you soon.